a step back in time, and we're going to do that with our first guest. We have a first guest here who is a historian, and he's also the author of 4 books, and I have them actually here with me. He has the Eagle Rock Reservation. He is a historian for West Orange, and that's the hometown of David Cassidy. When he was a little boy from about ages 5 to 11, he lived in West Orange with his grandparents, Fred and Ethel Ward. And they have a long history, his family line on his mother's side, they have a long history in West Orange. And so we invited Joe Fagan, who is the author of 4 books, as I mentioned, Eagle Rock Reservation, West Orange Revisited, West Orange and Postcards, and the Stories of West Orange. And his family dates back many years. He'll go over some of that as well, but he's the 4th generation of people, growing up in West Orange in his own family. So he has a love for the town, and he's here with us today, and we're very excited to have Mr. Joe Fagan. Thank you for coming, Joseph Fagan. Welcome, Joe.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's certainly an honor to be here. I didn't realize that your audience would be so large in the sense that it's reaching around the globe, but it's certainly very refreshing to see that. I've mentioned to you, Karen, in a few conversations we had, that it amazes me 53 years later that David Cassidy is still having such an impact on you ladies, and you're certainly not alone in that regard. But this is the 3rd time that I'm doing such an event like this. So I'm very honored. Yes, as Karen mentioned, I'm the 4th generation of my family, to probably 5th generation actually, to have grown up in West Orange. I do work in West Orange. I'm in West Orange every day. I am the public information officer. As was mentioned, I hold the title of the honorary town historian. It's an official position, but it's an honorary title. And I have 30 plus years of research into West Orange, and I have many facts to share with you this evening about David Cassidy. As Karen also mentioned, you see my 4 books on the screen. There's very little here that deals with David Cassidy. In West Orange Revisited, there's 1 picture, and I'm going to get into that in a short while, and how that relates to specifically to David Cassidy and my communications with him. If you have the opportunity to look on the map and you look at current day Essex County, Essex County was first settled in 1666. That goes back a very long way. Of course, it wasn't known as Essex County. When the settlers arrived up the Passaic River in what is modern-day Newark, they got off the boat and they made land purchases from the Native Americans, and that area encompasses mostly Essex County today. But one thing Karen alluded to is that David's family goes way back in West Orange history. Well, that's true, or at least we think it's true. In 1666, the person permitted the privilege of first coming ashore was Elizabeth Swain. She was the daughter of Captain Samuel Swain, and because she was the captain's daughter, she had the privilege. She eventually married Joshua Ward, who was one of the settlers. And it is from the Ward family, we believe, that David Cassidy is a descendant. And I stress that because that has never been researched by a genealogist, to my knowledge. I make that assertion in several writings that I've done, only because it's probably a safe assumption. And again, I stress probably a safe assumption, because the Ward family remained in Essex County through those generations. And David Cassidy is likely a direct ascendant of the Ward of Joshua Ward and Elizabeth Swain. Although the family may have branched out, and but there is some connection, I'm sure. David's mother, Evelyn Ward, graduated West Orange High School in 1942. And there's several pictures of Evelyn Ward throughout the book. She was in several plays, musical productions. And it doesn't surprise anyone that she was destined to be an actress or a singer. And after she graduated in 1942, she wound up in her Broadway debut in 1943, which is pretty impressive. And it was a few years later, in 1945, while appearing in the Broadway musical The Firebrand of Florence. That's when she met the actor Jack Cassidy. Having a child is really heavy baggage, so to speak. So David came to live with his grandparents in West Orange, and he lived with them for 11 years. Now, as was mentioned, I've written 4 books. I've also written a weekly newspaper article, still do. In the fact that I was writing a newspaper article, I reached out to David several times because I wanted to do an interview with him for my weekly column. And David was always very responsive, but always very reluctant. Now, he could have just ignored me, but he didn't do that. I think that he wanted to do the interview, but I think that he was also confused. And I conclude, now please, I'm not stating this as fact, I conclude that West Orange was a dark place for David because he didn't find out about his parents being divorced. He found out about it at Colgate Field or on the playground or from his friends. Precisely where and when, we don't know. But that devastated David because everyone knew except him. And that kind of set the trajectory of his life. And he moved out he left West Orange. He was there for 11 years. He moved to Los Angeles to live, ironically, with Jack Cassidy, his father. That's where David went to high school and continued his education and eventually landed the role in the Partridge Family. Now, I have some pictures that I'd like to share. I'm going to kind of go out of order in telling the story here because I don't want to mess with the pictures. We have it working. But these are pictures today. This is Holy Trinity Church. This is on Main Street in West Orange. The church opened in 1907. David's grandmother was the choir director at this church. And this is where David first sang. Not in this, he had no idea, I'm sure, that he was going into a singing career. But he sang in the choir here with his grandmother and the Holy Trinity Church. It hasn't changed since 1907. It looks the same. So this is a picture that David would be totally familiar with. And there's a school across the street there, and that's Washington Street School. Now, this school is only literally 2 blocks from David's house. So David attended this school. Now, Karen had mentioned that he went to the Eagle Rock School. It's possible he went to the Eagle Rock School for kindergarten because not all West Orange grammar schools always had a kindergarten class. Eagle Rock School was also close by, not as close as Washington Street School. So David may have went there for kindergarten and then attended the rest of his grammar school in West Orange in the Washington Street School here. This is the Eagle Rock School. Of course, today it's the Board of Education offices. And this school basically remains its character. This is the older part of the school. To the right there, that's a new addition that was built in the 90s. But the school, even though it's not a school, it's administrative offices, it would be totally recognizable to David, the school. Now, I'm sure many of you recognize this. This is the house on Elm Street. This is a picture I took today. This is literally 2 blocks from David's house, and 2 very short blocks. David walked here. David played at Colgate Field. This is the original sign. What you see here is the original sign dating back to the 30s. David would certainly recognize this sign. David passed under this sign many, many times. To the immediate left it was a baseball field. There's a big baseball field here now that has been here since the 30s, but there was a smaller Little League field directly behind the no motor vehicles sign, and that's where David would have played Little League. And there, up at the top here where my cursor is, there's swings and playgrounds, and there was a sandbox, and so this would have been David's playground for sure. This picture here is what I wanted to show you. This is in my book West Orange Revisited, and the gentleman to the extreme left in the suit, the well-dressed man, that's Fred Ward. That's David's grandfather. And this picture was taken in Levin's Stationery. It was a stationery store on Main Street, just past Washington Street School, certainly within walking distance. In, 2016, David contacted me because he wanted a copy of this picture. He had heard about my book, and that his grandfather was in the book, and he requested a copy of this picture. So I sent this picture, copy of this picture, along with a copy of the book to David. And David wrote to me, "Dear Joseph, thank you very much for the wonderful photo and book. This photo means a lot to me. My pop, Fred, was the finest man I've ever known. As you may know, Fred was more of a father to me than my own father. It brings back some wonderful memories of my family and my time in West Orange. Thank you, David." Now, I should mention, and I forgot to mention, before I sent this picture, it was in October of 2016, David was playing at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey, which is pretty close by, about a half-hour drive, and I had requested an interview, and David had agreed to it. And then when I contacted him the night of the event to make final arrangements, he thought better about it, and he didn't do the interview. And I believe that David was he just didn't want, he couldn't bring himself to talk about West Orange, and I think that it was really just deep-rooted memories he had. Now, this article, you won't see or find it anywhere else. This is in the West Orange Chronicle. It's from December 16th, 1993. And in this article, David had visited West Orange High School. There was a group of West Orange High School students who had come to see him on Broadway, and they invited him back to the school, and he came back to the school. He was there in 1976, and he's here in 1993. And I think that's why that his him wanting that picture of his grandfather, that may have been his connection to West Orange. That may have been the happy place he was looking for, getting that picture. And it wasn't long after that where David died. This is another picture of David in 1993 on that visit to West Orange High School. This is Evelyn Ward. This is directly from the 1942 yearbook. And this, of course, is as David's mother. And you can see that I can dance through life and sing through trouble. And that she was, in the Glee Club. And, she's usually seen looking lovely, secret ambition to crash Hollywood. So, she had this ambition to be a star. And that's, when she met Jack Cassidy, it must have been a dream for her. It says here her weakness was the Harrison boy. I think it would be pretty interesting, as a side note, to look through the high school yearbook and see if, whose last name was Harrison, and, find out who the Harrison boy was.
What was a typical day like for a kid of David's age, like from 5 to 11 years old? Like, what was a typical day like? How was the feel of the neighborhood at that time? Because it was 1950 something to 1961.
Main Street in West Orange at that time, it was the type of place where a young 6 or 7 or 8-year-old kid could just walk, and no one would really be concerned. I used to walk to school, as David probably walked to Washington Street School. It was just a wholesome atmosphere. Obviously, it was a time when you don't have the problems that are going on today. And it was just a friendly hometown feeling where everyone knew everyone.
Is there any chance that the house on Elm Street where David lived with his grandparents could ever be restored and as a place of importance so that fans and, you know, people in the future can visit the house? And I mean, to us, it's very important.
Yes. I'm glad you asked that question. I had discussed that with Karen. But here's the problem with David Cassidy's house. First off, it's privately owned. It's private property. Second off, it's not his. The house did not belong to David Cassidy. It belonged to his grandparents, and there's nothing really historic that happened there other than David lived there for a brief period. Aaron, I'm sorry to be so negative on your question there, but I want to paint a realistic picture for you. But at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to try. But I just want to understand the challenges that you face in doing that.
That's okay. Thank you for answering my question.
It looked like Celeste's question was, let me just address, what was your question again, Celeste? Can you put up there? I forgot it.
Why isn't David in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? There's a New Jersey one.
Okay. There is a New Jersey Hall of Fame. It's not a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The short answer, the absolute answer is I don't know. I know that the process for the New Jersey Hall of Fame is a nomination process. And the reason why, the likely reason why is because he didn't achieve fame in New Jersey. He achieved fame in California.
Eileen, hit it. Go ahead.
On Aaron's note, I was thinking maybe it would be more feasible to have a plaque at the little park that David played at.
You know, that's an excellent suggestion. And I think that is also, something that I never considered, but it is an excellent suggestion.
Yeah.
There is plenty of space there. The West Orange, that is under the jurisdiction of the West Orange Recreation Department. And I can't answer for them, but I can tell you this, that if you raised the money and you presented it to them and said that you'd like to present put a plaque at Colgate Field depicting that David Cassidy played here, I don't know that they'd approve it, but they'd be very receptive to it because people could walk into the park. They can see that. That's interesting. David Cassidy. Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion. You'd have to raise the money, obviously, but
we would raise the money. Don't you worry.
The money will come flying in. The money will come flying in.
I get the impression that the money is not going to be an object here. Now, this is a park, and I think I can see it. I can actually see it at the entrance to the park there. I think that is a venture worth pursuing. Is it Eileen or Eileen or?
It's Eileen.
Eileen. Where do you live, Eileen?
I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay,
close
Milwaukee.
To Chicago.
Right.
Close to Chicago.
Okay, and there you have the bronze fawns along the river, I don't think it looks at all like Henry Winkler, but it's a destination. It's a destination. Yes. People go there to get their picture with the bronze fawns. And, if you had something like that in Colgate Field, many people like yourself would make a pilgrimage to get their picture with the David Cassidy events. I think that's...
Yes, we would. Absolutely.
Okay, Joe, before you go, we have another guest coming on here. So I just want to say thank you, but I also want to let everybody know that you were on the podcast with Louise Poynton.
Yes, I was.
A lot of us listened to. But if anybody wants to listen to Joe talk for more length at this conversation with Louise Poynton, for those of you who follow the David Cassidy connections, just go to her podcast and look it up. And we really appreciate your coming on.
Before you leave, we're going to give away one of your books. We're going to one lucky winner. Barb's going to spin the wheel. So while you're here, and we'll ship it to them. And I guess the book that we'll raffle off is the West Orange Revisited.
That would make the most sense.
Yeah.
The one we're going to raffle off. I believe I have it right there on the screen.
Yeah.
And let me now go back to the wheel.
And where can your books be found, Joseph?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, they're probably on Amazon. If you were
Okay.
interested, you could buy them you can purchase them from me, and I'd be glad to autograph them to you. The website, it's very simple. It's WOPL, West Orange Public Library.org. And if you go on WOPL.org, you'll see a digital resources, and it will say high school yearbooks, and you just choose the year you want, and you'd be looking for 1942. And if anybody wants to buy a book from me autographed, you can send me an email at josephfagan55@gmail.com. That's my name, josephfagan55@gmail.com. And I will email you a complete catalog of all my books, all the chapters, and you could see if there's anything of interest to you. And I'd be glad to fulfill that order and sign it for you.
All right, hold on. Here we go. Who's the winner? You have to be present to win it, I think.
Yeah. You have to be here to win.
Linda Tusk, are you
Linda,
here, Linda?
if you're here, unmute yourself so we know you're here.
She is the winner.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Yay, Linda. Where are you from, Linda?
I am from Osseo, Michigan now. Originally from Chicago, Illinois.
Awesome. Congratulations. You're a
Thank
winner.
you. Thank you, Joe.
If it's any consolation to you, Linda, I am New Jersey's biggest Chicago Bear fan.
Ah,
And
the Bears.
in Stories of West Orange, there's actually a story about Brian Picklow's connection to
Ooh.
West Orange.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. Joe, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you. I expect
Thank
Karen
you.
will be contacting me about what we talked about. And
Yes.
thank you for having me, ladies, and
it's a
have a
pleasure.
good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for donating the book as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Joe.
Bye-bye.
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 That was awesome. I guess we learned a lot.